So imagine this. You're sitting there clueless about SEO, just like I was back in 2016. But fast forward 3 years, and I was at the helm of a 7-figure SEO agency that's making over $80,000 per month. What I'm going to talk about over the next few minutes is how I was able to do that. Go from 0 to a 7-figure agency in just a few years. My name is Caleb Alku. And when I first got started in this space, in SEO, honestly, I barely knew what SEO stood for. But I just went out there and I started trying to land clients. I didn't do any cold calling. I didn't spend $1 on ads. And honestly, I can't imagine anything worse than cold calling people. Definitely not a skill set of mine. Before I started my SEO agency, I was trapped in a high-paying job. And I know that sounds weird. How can you be trapped in a high-paying job? But keep in mind that I was driving over 90 minutes each way as part of my commute and working long hours at my job. But this just felt normal to me. My coworkers are doing the same thing. My neighbors were doing the same thing. It just felt normal, that it was normal to be in this rat race and to miss your entire family life, to have your life be nothing more than a blur of long commutes and late dinners. At this time, I had a son. He was almost 2 years old. And the breaking point, the moment when I finally realized that there was something seriously wrong, is when I hired a nanny to pick my son up from daycare and put him to bed for me. I outsourced the job of a parent because of the corporate job I had, trying to keep up with that. Absolutely ridiculous. So I realized I needed to change something. And in the early days of my agency, I had no idea what to do. I was completely lost. Like I said, I didn't have any idea how to land clients. But since then, I figured it out. And not only that, I've helped hundreds of other people start their own agencies and grow them to 6 figures. So I'm still doing my day job. And somehow, I must not have been sleeping back then, I start this agency, this SEO agency. And I start trying to find clients. And I got really, really lucky and ended up with my first client. My first client was paying me $3,000 a month. They had some traffic, but they wanted more traffic. Now, here's the problem. Like I said, I knew nothing about SEO. I'd just gotten started. I'd never really done it before. So I dove into the SEO blogs. I dove into the SEO YouTube channels. I spent a huge amount of time trying to learn everything I could about SEO so that I could be successful for this client, so that I could drive their traffic, which is what they're paying me to do. But I felt like a massive imposter. I'm not sure if you've ever felt like that before, but I had a client paying me to do something and I had no idea what to do. And I'll tell you what, I'll be honest here. I trusted the wrong information. I watched the wrong videos and they gave bad advice, like really, really bad advice. But it sounded easy and it sounded like a quick way to spike traffic. So I followed it. I didn't know any better back then. And what happened, the entire website, the entire domain was de-indexed by Google search. Okay, this is possibly the worst thing that can ever happen. If you don't know what that means, being de-indexed means that Google will no longer show your domain as any search result. You're dead to Google. You're not on the internet anymore because if Google can't find you, what's the point? So that's what happened. I got their website de-indexed. And yeah, that wasn't great. Clearly, they didn't need my services anymore. And I knew that if I wanted to make this work, I needed to make an investment in me. I needed to make an investment in my future, in my agency. So I took every penny, every dollar that I had been paid by that client and invested it in learning SEO from trusted sources. I really needed out of that rat race. I needed change. I needed freedom, time for myself and my family. And that's what I had to do. I had to invest in myself to get that because I didn't know anything about starting my own business. I didn't know anything about SEO, as demonstrated from this first disastrous client. Starting from zero is very, very humbling. It's very hard to do something you've never done before, start from absolute scratch, and grow it into something that's successful. It's very hard to get comfortable, to get used to the idea of failing. but everyone fails in the beginning. No one does something for the first time and is an insane success at it. It takes practice. It takes repetition. It takes failure. I had to get to a point where I didn't feel like an imposter anymore, where it felt like it made sense to me that a company would pay me to do SEO for them. So I keep prospecting through all of this because I have a little bit more time with no clients whatsoever. And I get a big client, Skillshare.com, 5 figures a month client. This wasn't just a huge win. It clearly was a huge win, but it wasn't just that. It's a ray of light, a validation that I could actually do this, that I could actually get big clients to pay my agency to help them get traffic, get customers, and hopefully provide a positive return on investment for my client. It was a 9-month fixed engagement, and the goal was 10% membership growth from SEO. So we embarked on it. A big project, a big scope of work. One of the early things I had to do was actually grow my team. I couldn't do a project like Skillshare as a one-man show. So I started growing my team, and I learned a lot about hiring people, bringing them on board. I've done some of this in my corporate life, but it's very different going and recruiting for a corporate job where everyone has heard the name of the company versus bringing on your employee number 1 or number 2 if you count yourself. So I had to create a process. I had to create a system. I had to create training for the people I was bringing on board. So I took pieces of all of the SEO courses I had gone through. I spent some time split testing so that I could get a better idea of who knew what they were talking about and who was guessing. One thing I learned early on is there's a lot of different ways to do SEO. Some of them work and a lot of them don't. So I designed my system, my process, to work with someone who had never done SEO before. That was what I wanted. I did not want to bring people on board who had any SEO background at all, who had any technical knowledge or experience in SEO. Because I quickly learned that if I brought someone on board who said they knew SEO, usually I had to start by detraining everything that they thought they knew. Because honestly, I built this system. I knew what I wanted. I wanted SEO done my way. I didn't want it done their way. I wanted it done my way. I had done the work. I had built the system. I had done the split testing. I had a reasonable idea of how to grow memberships with organic traffic. So the story with Skillshare, it has somewhat of a happy ending. We hit their goal, and my team and I, my agency, we had been able to rank their website number 1 for terms like graphic design, which was a massive help for them, a lot of membership growth. But we were so successful that they decided to change direction. They didn't want to focus on SEO anymore. They were number 1 for a lot of terms, and you can't get much better than that. So they shifted direction. This is basically a nightmare for an agency owner. I was so busy with Skillshare that I stopped prospecting. A massive, massive mistake. Never do this, okay? I was too busy to prospect. The other clients I had, I wasn't paying much attention to them. Skillshare got everything. And as a result of that, when Skillshare left, I didn't really have much of an agency anymore. Instead of having a large, growing, successful agency, I basically had nothing when Skillshare changed direction. This led to a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of worry, not just for my future, but of course that was there, but also concern over my team members, concern over the future of people who had trusted me. Now I had my SEO training, I had my SEO processes and systems. I had this blueprint for how to successfully do SEO, but I didn't have any clients. I still, even with something like Skillshare, I didn't have a good way to get clients. Honestly, these first few big clients were a lot of luck. The success with them was amazing. But when they left, I didn't have any system in place to grow my revenue, to get new clients. So that's what I needed to focus on next. And I realized there was an amazing opportunity with platforms like Upwork. Now, I know for some of you that's going to sound like a bad word. And the reason for that is very simple. Upwork has a 97% failure rate. 97% of the people on Upwork don't make any money. So when someone signs up and then they don't make any money, they tell everyone they know about how that platform is terrible and it doesn't work and you can't land clients on there. Well, the 3% of people on Upwork who do make money, they split over $5 billion a year. Keep this in mind. Whenever you hear anything bad about Upwork, it's because someone's tried it and it didn't work for them. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't work for most people. But success is not a strategy. Success is resilience. It's consistency. It's discipline. And I knew that there were big clients on Upwork. That's where I got Skillshare from. I just stopped sending proposals. I stopped prospecting because I was so busy with fulfillment on Skillshare, with building my system, building my team. And I felt like I was too good for Upwork. The agency was too successful. I didn't need it anymore. So I moved away from it. And that was a huge, massive mistake. If I could go back, I would fix that. I would talk to myself and tell myself to stay active on that platform, to keep sending proposals, to keep growing the agency. And eventually I went back. I went back to Upwork. At the end of the day, right, I needed more clients. And I'm not a natural sales guy. I've never had any sales training. I used to work for corporate America. I didn't do sales, nothing like that. And I can't imagine anything more terrifying than making cold calls. I tried running ads, I tried a variety of things, but what had worked for me in the past was Upwork, because Upwork is a place where clients already want the service. Someone on Upwork already wants SEO. They've decided I need SEO. So I don't have to convince them that SEO is going to be good and helpful. Right? They've decided that SEO is a marketing, a growth strategy that's going to be helpful for them. They're just looking for a provider to come and give them good SEO services, to deliver traffic, to deliver results. So that's the power of a platform like Upwork, where all you need to do is convince the client that you can do that service. You don't need to worry about convincing them that it's an important service. So one reason that so many people on Upwork fail, one reason is most of the people on Upwork forget that. They send proposals trying to convince the client that they need the service. Sending a proposal that says, man, SEO is going to give you a lot of business. It's a great return on investment. It's going to give you a lot of customers. It's going to grow your revenue. That's all a waste of time. The client's already decided that, right? The client decided they want SEO, otherwise they wouldn't be posting a job saying, hey, I need help with SEO. All you need to do is raise your hand and say, oh, I can do SEO. That's why Upwork and platforms like it work so well for me, because I didn't need to try to convince someone about the power of SEO. They already knew it. So really, legitimately, I built a 7-figure agency by sending proposals on Upwork. And Upwork wasn't just about building a business. It wasn't just about finding success that way. It was about challenging the status quo. I knew the stats when I started. I knew 97% failure rate. I wanted to be in the 3% of success stories. On Upwork, I've landed jobs with Skillshare, Adobe, Stanley Black & Decker, and more huge clients. You have to remember that nearly half of the Fortune 500 is on Upwork right now, posting jobs, looking for talent like you to help them. It's a massive opportunity that so many of your competition is just sitting on. Or they're trying to get jobs on Upwork, but they're doing it the wrong way. So really, as I think back on this journey that I've taken, on going from no clients, crazy hours, life is a blur of commutes, never seeing my son, to now I work from home, I see him all the time, I go pick him up from school at 2:30 in the afternoon. And all of that journey came from consistency, came from discipline. It came from committing to it and breaking through that failure. And there's something that Upwork does that I absolutely hate. And they've done this from the beginning, and I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. Upwork calls you a freelancer. Every time you look at Upwork, every time you look at anything in that platform, it's trying to remind you over and over and over again that you're a freelancer. And the mindset of a freelancer is very different from the mindset of an agency owner. So I need you to scrub the word freelancer, okay? Don't identify yourself as a freelancer. There's a lot of negative connotation for that word. Identify yourself as a business owner, as an agency owner. File paperwork to register, to incorporate your business and use that, okay? Get your EIN, give it to Upwork. It'll still call you a freelancer, but at least you know, and you'll have that mindset as a business owner, okay? Don't just keep treating yourself like a freelancer. Choose your life. All right, don't wake up in 20 years having missed everything, having missed your family. Learn as you go. Seek wisdom from people who have walked the path before you. But really, you have to start prospecting. You have to just start sending proposals. You don't need to be an expert to start sending proposals. Start sending proposals when you're a beginner. All you need to be able to do to send proposals is have a basic conversation about SEO. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to dazzle people with technical jargon. Just learn the basics so that you can have a conversation with someone about it. You have an idea of what you would do, of what your SEO process looks like. Find a trustworthy source of information about SEO or the service you want to offer. There's a ton of bad SEO advice out there. So find someone who's actually done it, who can prove that they've actually done it, and they know how to rank websites. Learn from them, but just learn the basics and start sending proposals. Start prospecting. The hardest job that you will get on Upwork is your first one. And I promise you that. Because when you're on there with no reviews, with no background, no earnings, it's going to be really hard. But once you get that first job, the second one is easier. Once you get that fifth job, the sixth one is easier. Every job you land is going to make the next job easier to get, because you're building your profile. You're building your reputation on that platform. On this channel, I give a lot of SEO techniques and detailed guides, with more coming. So subscribe, turn on those notifications so you don't miss my SEO guides. There are several that I've already posted. But what I really want you to do is to not be afraid of failure, okay? You're gonna go onto Upwork. If you don't have a profile, I want you to go onto Upwork and create a profile. Get it approved and start sending proposals. That's what I want. I want you to start sending proposals. I want you to do that today. It's going to be hard because you're not going to hear anything back. You're going to send 5 proposals, 10 proposals. You're not going to hear anything back. And you're going to feel like stopping. You're going to feel, why do I keep logging onto Upwork and sending proposals if nothing is happening? But I promise you, it can happen. It will happen if you keep doing it, okay? Financial freedom, escaping that rat race, escaping your 9 to 5, you can do that as long as you are dedicated, as long as you're consistent and disciplined. And really, I'm just asking you to send proposals on Upwork. I'm not asking you to go door to door, knocking on businesses' doors and asking them if they need SEO services. I'm just asking you to go log on to Upwork and start sending proposals. If you do that consistently, you will land clients. Your first one, remember, your first one is the hardest, okay? So if my journey resonates with you, this journey of 0 to 7 figures in 3 years, I'd love it if you could support this channel with a like or by sharing your thoughts in the comments. It really is helpful, YouTube's algorithm. If you give it a like, if you give it a comment, it really does help bring this message to other people who might need it. I'd also love it if you subscribed and turned on those notifications for more tips about building your business, building an agency, and more importantly, building a life you love.